Hello everyone and welcome to my BookTube-A-Thon 2016 wrap-up. So, as expected, I didn't manage to finish 7 books in 7 days, but I did manage to read 5 books, sort of, because I only read Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption in different seasons, so I guess I can't really say that I read that whole book because I did only read the one novella. And yeah, so I did really read 4 books and 1 novella. But there are 5 books to talk about in this wrap-up. Obviously these books won't be in my monthly wrap-up, which I will be posting next Monday. So if you want to know what other books I got through this month, then stay tuned for that. So I gave 2 of these books 3 stars, I gave 2 of them 4 stars, and I gave 1 of them 5 stars. So without further ado, the first book that I gave 3 stars to was Blubber by Judy Blume. This is a YA really short book that I got through in a couple of hours a few nights ago. It's about a little girl called Jill who is part of the popular crowd in her class at school, but she's not the ringleader. And one day an overweight girl in the class gives a presentation on whales, and she obviously mentions whale blubber, and she unfortunately then gets the nickname of Blubber. Obviously because Jill is part of the popular crowd, she does kind of second-handedly join in the teasing and the bullying, and because of that I found like I really didn't like her, even though she was a kid, and she was never ever the instigator because she wasn't the ringleader of the crowd. But yeah, I didn't find her very likable at all. As the story goes on, she does kind of grow up and she does see the error of her ways, and she does kind of break away from her clique, and yeah, she does redeem herself slightly by the end, but she wasn't a likable protagonist for me, and I think I was a little bit old to be reading this as well because it is kind of primary school age kids, so it's not really YA, it's more middle grade I would say. But yeah, and I haven't read much Judy Blume, but I know she does have some more mature books. I think Forever and a couple of her others are more kind of teenage based as opposed to this one, so I will be giving those a try, but this did only get 3 stars from me, so yeah. The next one I read was Crank by Ellen Hopkins. I gave this one 3 stars as well. This is told in verse, and it didn't take me that long to get through. I did read it over 2 nights, and it was okay. It's got a lot of very deep dark issues. It's got sexual abuse, it's got drug abuse, it's got lots and lots of obviously teenage issues, but of the darker variety. So I would say that it probably is more for a slightly mature teenage audience. I wouldn't really say that it's for the whole broad spectrum that YA is usually aimed at. I would say that it's probably aimed at kind of 16 plus ish. But it was okay. It was a little bit hard to follow sometimes because it's written in verse, and unlike another book, I have read another book that was written in verse, and I didn't really find it, like, I kind of forgot that it was written in verse. It just kind of read like prose, and I didn't really feel that with this. I was very aware of the format throughout it, and it is quite poetic language, so it is the kind of language where you do have to sort of stop and think about it. Like, it's not actually sort of like set out as a story written in verse. It is actual poetry, I guess. So yeah, there is that. You do actually have to kind of analyse it a little bit. So if you're prepared to put the work in for that, then that's absolutely fine. But certainly for a readathon, obviously I was just trying to get through books as fast as possible. So therefore I'm not really sure it was the best choice to pick for the BookTube-A-Thon, but I picked it anyway and it was okay. But yeah, I don't know, it wasn't really for me. I do have another Ellen Hopkins book called Rumble, so I will pick that up at some point and see if I like that one better. The next one is one that I gave 4 stars to, and that is Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, part of different seasons. This is obviously the novella that inspired the film The Shawshank Redemption, and unfortunately I didn't get round to watching the film this week, which sucks because I really wanted to, but I did read the novella, and I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely loved the plot. I was completely taken in by the characters. The main character, the narrator, is called Red. Well, he's known as Red, and it's based around the story really of a man called Andy Dufresnes, who is wrongly put in prison for the murder of his wife and her lover. And he was a banker when he was out on the outside, and he kind of uses his skills and his charming, friendly personality to become a popular member of the Shawshank prison. And it's all about his very, very clever, crafty way of escaping Shawshank. And I did read it all in one sitting. It's about 130 pages, I think, and I did read it, all of it, yesterday morning, actually, Sunday morning. And I was completely taken in. I didn't ever feel a need to put it down and take a break, because I was just so captivated. And obviously Stephen King is one of my favourite authors, so that may have been a reason why I was so taken in by it. And I have really, really missed him, because it has been a while since I've read anything by Stephen King, so I really, really needed this. But obviously, because I only managed to pick it up on Sunday, I didn't actually have time to read the other 3 novellas in this, but I will do. I'm really, really excited to, especially because one of the other novellas in this, called The Body, is the inspiration for the film Stand By Me, which I absolutely love. So yeah, we will see. I'm going to get to it and hopefully love it as much as I love that film. So yeah. The next one that I gave 4 stars to is Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. This is about a girl called Audrey who has debilitating anxiety and agoraphobia, and it's about her, not really her recovery, well, kind of her recovery, but she's not fully recovered by the end, but she does make great steps towards that, if you know what I mean. So it's about her and her general family life and her process through therapy for her condition. Her therapist suggests that she makes a movie of her life, so she carries around a camera around her house, and her therapist suggests that she maybe interviews her family and her friends of the family and things like that, and she does. And I read this within a day as well, so it's a fairly quick read. It's a couple of 100 pages, and it was just a book that I didn't want to put down. So yeah, that is that. This is quite a popular book, so I think you guys probably do know a little bit about it. And the last book that I read is a new favourite book of mine, and I gave it 5 stars, and I was expecting great things from it because I haven't ever read a bad review of it. And yeah, it is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It was so good. It was so unique. It was so unlike anything I've read before. It's about, basically, I'm going to try to describe the plot. It's about it's set in 2045, I think. It's 2045. I think it's 2045 anyway. And obviously the 80s were 60 years before that. And it's about a guy who is the creator of a system called the Oasis, which is basically a awesome simulated version of the internet, which everyone spends a lot of their time in. And when he dies, he creates this great super video game called Halliday's Easter Egg Hunt. And the person who finishes the game first will be the inheritor of his $6 billion fortune. So that's the very, very, very basics of it, but it's set chiefly in a online world, but it's not really anything like the online world that we know. It's much more of a reality, I guess, is the best way of saying it. So there's a lot of kind of points of view of avatars as opposed to actual people, and it's packed with 80s pop culture, 80s movies, 80s video games, 80s books, 80s TV shows. So there's a lot of that going on. If it sounds of interest to you, I thoroughly recommend that you pick it up because it was brilliant, and I'm sure I will be mentioning it again during other videos because it's one of my new favourite books. I really, really loved it, and I've had it a little while, and I was expecting great things from it, and I was not disappointed at all. So yeah, and that is it for my BookTube-A-Thon wrap up. How did you guys do in the BookTube-A-Thon? Let me know down below. I really wanted to finish at least Linger by Maggie Stiefvater as well, and I was actually planning on finishing it yesterday, but then things happened at home that put me in a very much a non-reading mood yesterday, and I was really disappointed and really annoyed at that. But I will finish it before the end of the month, so Linger will probably be in my monthly wrap up. But I know I wanted to finish the Wolves of Mercy Falls trilogy, but I don't know if I'm going to get to Forever Now this month, annoyingly. But I do have at least one other book that I do want to read this month as well. So hopefully that will be in my monthly wrap up, which I said I will post next Monday. Obviously all my social media will be in the description down below as normal. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Bye bye.